Jake, there sure are a lot of haters on the internet.
That's right. And they are out to get you. But as long as you're hanging here with us, you don't have to worry about it. But what we are going to talk about today are some great hate cards for Modern Horizons 2. Cards that are just absolutely going to hose certain players in Commander. We should talk about it. We should talk about it. We should talk about it.
The video starts right now.
Special thanks to our Patreon supporters who power our channel. Check out our Patreon for monthly giveaways, exclusive content, and even a starring role in our fan fight series. Link in the description below. Shop at TCG Player using our link in the description below and directly help our channel.
Hello and welcome to The Day.
Thank you for spending your time with us.
I'm Jake.
I'm Joel. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. We have scoured Modern Horizons 2, the card list. Jake, actually, lately, that seems like all we've been doing. But we've got a bunch of cards here that hate you. They hate your deck, and they are here to ruin your fun time. But before we get into these cards, if you would, hit that like button if you like the video by the end of it. Hit that dislike button if you don't.
It's the best way to support the channel with just the click of a button. If you want to get involved on a deeper level, head on over to Patreon. That's a great way to do that. Yeah, we've got new cards to talk about today for Modern Horizons 2. These are going to be some nice cards that are going to have niche effects that hose certain decks and certain strategies. Without further ado, let's talk about some new cardboard from Modern Horizons 2.
Jake, you called them nice cards, but there's nothing nice about this list, about this group that we're going through today.
Yes.
All of these have specific hose effects that we really think can be strong if you're in the business of pissing off your commander play group. The first of these cards is Obsidian Charma, 2 red, 3 other for a 4/4 dragon that's got flying. It's cost 1 less to cast for each land your opponents control. That could produce a colorless. So any of those lands that tap for colorless and also have an ability, or tap for colorless and then tap for, a color mana and you have to take a damage, it's going to reduce
like
the cost
the pain
of Charma.
lands and that kind of stuff.
Exactly. When it enters the battlefield, you're getting to destroy target non-basic land and opponent controls. I mean, you can just like ace their Thespian Stage, ace their Valakut, right?
Their Cabal Coffers, their Gaia's Cradle. Yeah, the list goes on and on and on. And then the card gets really out of control if you're able to. I'm thinking like a blue-red shell with like a crystal shard where you can bounce it. And then once the cost is reduced, you could just play it, clean up all of those pesky lands. In EDH, a 4/4 flyer, not the most important thing that you need to have in your deck. But again, that ETB is why we're talking about the card.
Yeah, effects like Conjurer's Closet that's going to let you flicker it, which I think is what you're getting at.
Exactly.
Return it to your hand, recast, or any kind of flicker. Anything that says, when this creature enters a battlefield, destroy target non-basic land and opponent controls straight up with no downside whatsoever. This is the kind of creature that is really going to hate on some non-basic lands in the format.
Yeah, let's talk about this card. 2 white for Sanctifier Invec. Creature Human Cleric, 2/2, pro red, pro black. Whenever it ETBs, exile all cards that are black or red from all graveyards. If a black or red permanent, spell, or card not on the battlefield would be put into a graveyard, exile it instead. So think like mill effects, any type of like reanimator, any type of like buried alive type thing. Yeah, this is just absolutely going to hose those kind of strategies. And so keep in mind, those are very important strategies in EDH. They're very popular as players like to use their graveyard as like their second hand. It's a huge resource if it's built into the right shell. And this is a really nice hate bear for that type of strategy.
Black and red's got a lot of removal in it. Black, red, white, you're looking at some of the, if not the best colors for removal. And so not only does it hose 2 colors, but it also dodges any directed removal that might want to hit it. This card, to kill it, you've got to catch it in the crossfire with a board wipe or some kind of, damage to each creature. That would be the only way to really get rid of this card. But like Jake said, I mean, it's hosing entire strategies. ET being exiling all cards that are black or red from all graveyards. It's not it's not a Tormod's Crypt. But those kinds of decks are absolutely going to get hosed by this because all of their recursion, any of their flashback is just getting ousted, not even allowed to stay. And it's really hard to remove. I love when they have a card that was pretty much made for constructed. This looks like a modern card to me, but then I look at it.
It's beautiful against Storm. Just side note, like very good against Storm. Yeah,
absolutely. It hits a couple of different archetypes being split between black and red. It's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I like when cards cross over into the design space of, this could be a really good hate bear in Commander if you've got a lot of black and red in your Commander pod. Next up is a 1-cost enchantment, Jake, that cycles away for 2. It just says simply at the beginning of your end step, it deals 5 damage to each planeswalker. Jake, this one's specifically on the list because it hoses the absolute crap out of Atraxa decks. And if you don't need it, you can just cycle it away.
Yeah, that second effect there, that cycling is why, for me, it's on the list. Just being able to cycle it away for 2, get a little bit of velocity in the deck if you don't need it. But enchantments are very sticky, meaning they're very difficult to deal with. And this is 1 CMC. Okay, so people like planeswalkers because they're also difficult to deal with. If you get a nice board state, you're able to protect your planeswalkers. Planeswalkers can win you the game. And so this is a great card to have in your back pocket, and the fact that you can cycle it away is just huge. I would almost like the effect as is, as not an enchantment, just 5 to each walker and you can cycle it away. But the fact that it stays there at the beginning of your end step, it is just going to kill walkers, and once it is established, no one is playing a planeswalker.
Atraxa is already one of the most top 5, top 10 played EDH commanders of all time. You've also got Asika that was printed this year and the Prismatic Bridge. I've personally played that deck in Commander tournaments and it absolutely slaps. This is the kind of card I would hate to see if that's what I was coming up to the table with. So, keep this one in your back pocket as some excellent tech that can be slid secretly into your red decks so that you can keep Kenny from playing his freaking planeswalkers every week. Kenny's gonna hate Flame Blitz. You can be like, oopsie doopsie, I won this round.
Doopsie.
See you next Saturday with a little bit of Flame Blitz. Jake, this next card. Damn.
Yeah. Damn. 2 black. For destroy target creature, a creature destroyed this way can't be regenerated at sorcery speed. However, that's not why we are featuring this card. It has Overload. So for 2 white and 2 other, you may cast this spell for its Overload cost, and if you do, change the text by replacing all instances of target with each. So it's a Wrath of God, stapled to essentially just like a sorcery speed hard removal. Pretty sweet card.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite cards from the new set. I love versatile stuff like this that can, for 2 mana, be very targeted and just deal with what you need it to deal with. Or if you're just like, screw it, I got the mana to spend this turn anyway, I'm going to pay 4. I don't care if I'm losing my board or maybe I don't have a board that I'm losing. Damn is probably one of the best cards on this list because it's, basically a top tier removal spell and a top tier removal spell stapled to each other so that you can do either one thing or all the things depending on your need at that time.
God, imagine if they had accidentally made this instant speed. This would be probably the best MTG spell.
Yeah, accidentally printed instant speed Wrath of God. Yeah, that would be a very, very good one. Endurance is next up on the list. It's in our cycle of free spells from the set.
Yes.
We don't have all of them on this list, but Endurance did make it. 2 green, 1 other for a 3/4 flashing, reaching elemental incarnation. When it enters the battlefield, up to 1 target player puts all the cards from their graveyard on the bottom of their library in a random order, and you can evoke it for exiling a green card from your hand, which is basically casting it for free. I was pointing out to Jake, one of his best EDH decks, one of his favorite EDH decks is Carador. How tilted he would be if he spent, turns 1 through 6 or 7 building up that graveyard. We're getting the synergy rolling. Carador's on the battlefield. Shit's getting cast for free. We're just absolutely on a roll. And then in response to him activating some trigger, somebody flashed in Endurance. His entire graveyard goes to the bottom of his library. The trigger that was on the stack fizzles because now there's no graveyard target. And to boot, I've got a 3/4 with reach on the battlefield ready to go.
Yeah, sure. And any type of reanimator like you're talking about, And then also, a very popular CEDH strategy. I don't know if this card will make it into CEDH. I think it probably will, just because Flash is relevant. And the fact that you can cast this for free by exiling a card makes me think that might be the format that it makes it to first. But I will say this, it's going to hit ad nauseum, and like any of these type of Limdol strategies, or like this Thassa's Oracle and Jace, that type of stuff. So keep this card in your back pocket. Again, pretty narrow use, but a lot of popular decks this card is going to hit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, any Hermit Druid combo like you're talking about that ends with trying to draw a card, failing to do so, but then winning because of a change of trigger there. I mean, Endurance, this can absolutely be backbreaking to a strategy that's popped off and is ready to go like that. I really like that point out. I hadn't thought about it from the CEDH standpoint, but yeah, this is a multi-format crossover from competitive CEDH to casual EDH, but very good card nonetheless, and free just like this one.
Yep. Solitude here, 2 white, 3 other for flash, lifelink, 3/2. Whenever it ETBs, exile up to 1 other target creature. That creature's controller gains life equal to its power. So that's Swords to Plowshares. And evoke, you can exile a white card from your hand. Yeah, I mean, free spells. I mean, this is essentially, for somebody who's running like, in EDH, you have Path, you have Swords, some of the best removal ever is in white. Well, now if you want to double up and you want more of those effects, if you're looking for just a little bit more redundancy, then run Solitude as well. This is a free spell.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just from playing in our Discord on MTGO a lot with the with the crowd, I would say that people get a little less cautious of order and what way they're doing certain things on their turn when they perceive you as shields down. And so if you're tapped out and there's no activations that they can see, plus you don't have access to your mana, they just kind of go hog wild, and they may do things in a different order than they would if they knew that you had a removal spell. And so just being able to interrupt somebody going, oh, I cast this, I go get Hammer of Nazan enters the battlefield, it goes to equip and potentially give that creature indestructible. Whoops, in response, exile. Same thing with Lightning Greaves, right? It's about to give it hexproof. Whoops, in response, exile. I thought you were tapped out. No, baby, I got Solitude.
Right. Yeah, so these kind of cards, think cards like our Force of Negations, our Force of Wills, our, all of these cards are Fierce Guardianships, and these cards that have come out in recent years. This kind of joins the ranks of those. I would say that this, and then also Grief, which didn't make this list but will be very impactful in Modern. Yeah, these are the kind of cards to really look out for in the future moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got Sword of Hearth and Home up next. 3 cost for an artifact equipment, gives +2/+2 and has equip of 2, just like the rest of the sword cycle. This one gives protection from green and from white, which is why it's on this list. Protection from green and white is huge. You are dodging the biggest creatures that would be on the battlefield. They can't block you, or you can block them perfectly as long as they haven't got trample, and you can still block some of it if they've got trample. You just have to have some of it roll over to you. And they're dodging white. All of the best removal, best targeted removal is in white. And so getting this onto a creature that's also powerful, maybe has some combat damage triggers like the sword provides, or just has a great passive ability, you're dodging a lot, and it hates off a lot of creatures and removal.
Yeah, like we were just talking about all of the best removal spells in white, in Solitude, like we were just talking about. Yeah, this is one of those cards that is going to be very strong. Players are going to want it for those the effects that are the sort of the Animus. It's going to let you search up lands, and then also the blink effects. People are going to want it for that, but they are also going to have these additional effects that hose some of the best removal and the best creatures in the format.
Yeah, we talked about the Obsidian Dragon at the beginning and flickering it so that you could get that ETB of non-basic land destruction. If that dragon is holding this sword and deals combat damage, you can exile it, return it to the battlefield, and destroy another non-basic land, which seems really brutal and hateful which is what we're trying to find in all of the cards today. Jake, the last one we've got here, it hoses a very specific strategy, but it hoses a strategy nonetheless.
That's right. This is mostly a meme, but it is absolutely brutal for anybody who likes to just kind of like pimp out their deck with snow lands. You know, we see players like this that just, you know, there's no reason to not run a snow land over a basic. You know, it's just kind of a little bit of extra flair until now. If somebody does happen to be running Break the Ice, then this is just absolutely going to destroy their strategy. This is probably not a card that I would actually put into my deck. I don't know how many times we're going to be running into people with snowlands. This may find some sort of niche use in Modern, but yeah, very specific, but absolutely wrecks anybody who decides to just have a little bit of fun and put snowlands instead of regular basics.
What's the same thing? Obsidian Charma looks for lands that could tap for colorless, and this would still destroy each land that is snow or could produce colorless. So you're going to get some hits in it. But yeah, like Jake said, this is the kind of tech that you would keep in your back pocket, you know, just if somebody was always running their mouth about how cool their snow-covered lands are. And you just one Saturday, you're like, Martin, yes, I can't handle it anymore. I brought Break the Ice in my deck. Congratulations on your turn 10. All of your snowlands are now dead.
Yeah, and it doesn't really do much for you. It just absolutely hoses in this situation. This hypothetical Martin character just absolutely loses because of all of their snowlands. You take a turn off, whatever. Yeah, pretty brutal card. But
if you're playing
mostly a joke. Mostly a joke. Who knows? We've talked about some great cards today for Modern Horizons 2 that absolutely hose the crap out of your deck. What did we miss? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, let us know if there are any other hose cards. We just were going through making some other videos and we happened to just, wow, that really hoses this specific strategy. That really hoses this specific strategy. We had a fun time putting this list together for you. Hit that like button if you like it. Hit that dislike button if you don't. Other than that, I'm tapped out. We'll catch you later.
Resist the FOMO. You can do it.